Hi guys, Naomi here from Read Like a Rockstar. Today I just wanted to share some quick teacher tips with you about behavior management because we all know how important that is. You've got to get some good behavior management techniques going from day one so that you can have a really smooth rest of the year and do all the other things that we teachers have to do. So just going to share some of my ideas that I have, and you can just pick and choose ones that you like, add on to ones you already have, and things like that. Some teachers, and I know that I've tried this and used it successfully, is having a monetary system in your class. I created behavior bucks, so you can pay your students for good behavior. Something else that I've done instead of giving them the money is using tickets, or you can use stickers, and when they get to a certain amount, they can, buy a pencil from you or earn a trip to the treasure box. I do it where every Friday, if they have, for every $10 they have, they can get something out of my treasure chest. So it does take a lot for them to earn $10. Usually, if they've had a pretty good week, they can get 10 in a week, but sometimes it might take them 2 or 3 weeks to earn up, and it's something I think that's not too long that they're not willing to work for. They'll be excited when they have $6 or $7 and they know they're getting close, and they'll work really hard to get the rest of that money. I have a letter that I send home to parents if you want to send home the bucks to work at home as well. For some students that might need a little bit more motivation, I'll send some bucks home with parents and say, hey, here's what I'm doing in class. If you see your student doing stuff at home, you can pay them, and then it will transfer over to class just to get some support at home. Another idea that I have are behavior punch cards. So what the student would do is keep the card. Everything that I'm going to show you is their responsibility. If they lose it, it's too bad. They have to start over. But I give them punch cards, and as I see them exhibiting behavior that I really, really like, it's something that could just be following the class rules. If it's a difficult student, you really try really hard to look for anything like, oh, I saw you walking nicely in line, or you're sitting down and you're doing your work and you didn't get out of your seat. Get a punch card, and then it can be up to you to decide what happens when they get to 10. They can get a Skittle, they can get a sticker, they can have, lunch bunch, whatever it is that you decide that works well in your class, or something that is going to motivate your students. Tiny sticker charts, they just go on the desk. Every time you see something you like, you give them a sticker, or they can color it in. And again, you decide what it is that's going to be the prize. Maybe they can bring something for show and tell. There's so many things. If you don't want to, keep up with paying for treats for a treasure box or keep up with candy, then you can decide 5 minutes of extra recess, or they get to sit by their friend, or they get to be the line leader for the day. Anything. Kids are, they like a lot of different things. These are behavior things that I put on my individual students' desks. Every student wouldn't have it, but for short-term goals of hey, whenever, I thinking of this one student, which is who I was thinking of when I made this, was that she needed a constant motivation. So something that was really, really quick, all she had to do was 5 things to make it to her goal, and I would say, we'd talk about it beforehand, okay, I almost said her name, E. I'll call her E. If you can get to the 5 by making good choices, then what do you want? And I just got some cute erasers from Target, and she said, I want some erasers. So it was when I see you doing something, I'll tell you to connect the dots, just to change it up. Get the basketball on the hoop, get the rabbit to the carrot, and you get a pencil. Get the animals to the barn, and you get a lunch bunch ticket, which means they get to come back to the classroom and have lunch with me. Anything short and simple. I have ones that are longer where there's 10 steps to do. So as their good behavior increases, and they can go for longer without needing to be motivated or reminded to continue to do what they're supposed to be doing. You can kind of wean them off of those things. Behavior tickets, just something that instead of interrupting the class to tell the student, please stop doing that, you can just walk by, put it down on their desk, and that's their warning. It gets them right back on track. Positive notes, when you have a student that is easily off task, just starting their day off with a nice note, and them having that in the corner of their desk sometimes is motivation, because they know that, okay, my teacher's really counting on me, I don't want to disappoint them, and I find that they work a little bit harder when they're starting off on a positive note. I made tickets for those teachers that don't like to use Treasure Box. I like to use Treasure Box for the first half of the year, And then by the second half of the year, when I'm tired of buying stuff for it and they're kind of tired of sifting through the same old things, I pull out these incentive tickets, and they're really excited for those. And that's when it goes from $10 or 10 tickets to 20, and they know they have to work really, really hard to get these. So there's being the teacher's assistant, taking a trip to the treasure box, sitting at the teacher's desk, lunch with the principal, which you might need to get worked out with your principal beforehand, being able to wear sunglasses in the classroom for 15 minutes, a no homework pass, lunch with the teacher, which everyone loves, sitting with a friend, lunch with a friend. I let a student just take one friend back to the classroom with them and they can eat together, reading a book to the class, extra recess, and getting a piece of candy. So again, I just go by the year and what I know my kids will really like. Some of them, like when I taught in Florida, extra recess was not a prize because they hated being outside because it was so hot. So you have to pick and choose what you think will motivate your students best of all. I have some behavior charts that I like to utilize, weekly behavior charts. I have my students say what they want their goal to be, to draw a picture of them reaching their goal. And then at the end of each day, we go over it and say, well, how do you think you did as far as reaching your goal? Like, you did great, you didn't do great, yes, no. And then at the end of the week, they take it home, and hopefully you start to get more, yes, I met my goal, than no, I did not meet my goal. Making super choices, depending on the student. If there's certain things that they always do, like maybe they call out, maybe they're mean to their friends, running, interrupting you, not getting their work done. So you would write down what the wrong choices are, and then with them go over, write or draw a picture of what they could do instead. And it's something that you can tape right next to their desk or tape onto their desk or put in a folder, and when you come by, if they're having a little bit of difficulty, pull this out or reference it and say, hey, you're making a wrong choice. Here's something you could do instead. Friendship mentor contracts. This is a really good one that I like to utilize, of letting them work with somebody in the class that has just proven themselves to be a good role model. I like to let the role model student know you're not their boss, you're not the teacher, but you can remind them nicely. I let the student know, hey, listen to them because they're trying to help you out. I know you can do it. I always start the year out by letting everybody know that I handpick them to be my class. I tell them that I talked to all the teachers, I talked to the principal, I've been watching them over the summer, like they're first and second grade, they believe it. And I say that I handpicked everyone, and if you're in my class, it's because you're the best. And that it's our class secret, because if everyone in the school knew, then everyone would want to be in our classroom. So even when they're messing up, I remind them, hey, you're still the best, and because I want you to be the best, that's why I'm pairing you up with another student who's the best to help you get better. Behavior bingo is another fun one. And again, these are not things I do for the entire class. These are things that when you have those one or two students that are always off task or that are struggling a little bit, that these are just quick and small interventions that I keep trying with them until one works, or when one, worked for a little bit and then it stops working, I pull out the next one and say, hey, here's the next new thing we're going to do to control your behavior. So behavior bingo is something I stick on their desk. You can let them color it in. Some students can handle the counters on their desk. Some students start playing with them and it becomes a whole other behavior issue. But I just kind of put any random pictures on there, and then I use it however I can find it. Like, oh, you were listening to the teacher. She looks like a teacher, so you can color that in. You're reading a book, so you can color that in. Oh, you're doing really good at recess. You can color that in. I saw you thinking, and you were thinking hard, just like she's thinking. You can color that in. And you try to really help them get a bingo so they're more motivated by the positive and saying, hey, I'm getting a lot more attention for my good choices. Maybe I should start making good choices instead of my negative choices so much. Another great behavior intervention thing that I like to do is using these desk charts. I put both of these on the desk at the same time. One says my teacher noticed my good choices, and the other one says that my friends noticed my great choices. And I tape both of them on the desk at the same time, and I put on counters or color this one in, and I let the students color these ones in so they know that their friends are rooting for them too. I used it in my first grade classroom last year, and it worked really well. Students would come over and say, hey, I saw E doing this. Can I go color in her chart? And it was like, sure. So she knew they were watching and wanted the best for her. She knew I was watching and wanted the best for her. And this worked really well for a long time with this particular student. And it's just a 10 frame. So if you have a 10 frame, then you can just do that. And I just put one for friends, one for teachers. And she was really, really excited to make all of us proud. A behavior intervention plan, I think, is important when you notice that this is an ongoing thing. It's been happening for a few weeks or a few months. Just to keep track of behaviors, I have on there to write down the negative behavior displayed, the desired behavior that you would like for it to be replaced with. Like, have a goal instead of just saying, I want them to stop calling out. I want them to stop calling out, and I would like for them instead to raise their hand. The triggers, writing down what the triggers were, I thought was pretty eye-opening, because when you stop and think about it, sometimes it's stuff that you can avoid doing to them. Behavior goals, so I want them to pay attention and participate for at least 20 minutes, and by October for 30 minutes. So have small goals for them that you know you're working towards, so that you're not expecting, perfection too soon. And then services and interventions, what are you going to do? This is also great for if you've been doing this and you have to meet with higher ups that say, well, what have you been doing? What have you tried? And you can say, I've had this plan in place. On this date, I tried this, it didn't work, so I switched to this plan. And it's just a good, paperwork for you to have. And then behavior reflections, where at the end of the week, after I do like my weekly behavior charts, and I have so many, that's not it, different ones, at the end of the week, maybe right around dismissal time, you can have them go over and say, well, how did I act? How do I want to act? And how did I change? And sometimes it's good for them to see, wow, I didn't change at all. And like I said, they're really honest about it. So they'll say, well, I want to be doing this. And it's, well, did you change? And they'll say, well, I didn't really. And then you can have conversations from there about how they can change. Let's see. And then a behavior report. This is something that you can use for your own records, again, to just say, on this date, here's what happened, here's my comments about it, here's a student plan for improvement that the parents will go over with their student, hopefully. When you get it back, I like to make sure you keep a copy of it, because if you're having continued problems, then at conferences or when you meet with the principal, or if it just goes to that level, you can say, well, here's this report and this report and this report, and here's this plan, and here's what I tried, and here's what I tried. And it's just good records for you. But my parents like this a lot, because they knew that I handled it in class. I knew that they handled it at home, and it was like we were a partnership, and it was something positive moving forward. So hopefully you can use one or more of those ideas, and good luck with your class this year. Thanks.